If we live in the freaking future, then how come most of the modules you buy online are already 5 years old? You see these kits labeled as Arduino module this or ESP32 module that, but most beginners, they don't actually know what a module actually is. Here's the truth. The best modules, they don't exist and nobody sells them. If you want the best parts, newest sensors, and highest efficiency things, then you're not going to find them in a bag of modules from AliExpress. You have to make them. By the end of this video, you're going to know not only what is a module, how they work, why they exist, but how to find those cutting edge parts. That way you can make your first module yourself. And if you're thinking, oh no, it's scary, I don't know what I'm doing, well, don't worry. I'm going to show you after you find those parts how you can look through the data sheet, find the important stuff, skip through all that non important stuff, find what's called like a typical application circuit at the end, and it's basically your golden ticket. It's going to be a thing where you can kind of copy it and just like copy paste right into a schematic, make your first PCB, and this is honestly my favorite part about electronics. So, what exactly is a module? Well, let's look at a car. For example, there's not like a 8 foot long circuit board that runs the length of your car. It's a bunch of individual little circuit boards that are all wired together. And you could say, well, they all do one specific thing or a few specific things, and then together they all contribute to make one full product or a system. But where a board ends and a module begins is really difficult. However, good rule of thumb is if it can function on its own, it's normally a board. But if it's required to work with other things, or especially if it's meant to be swapped out or replaced with things easily, then that's a pretty good candidate to be a module. Just to drive home the point, when I'm at work and I'm talking with some other people, I might say the words board and module in the same sentence, talking about the same exact thing. And guess what? No one stops and points and laughs at me because we're all busy actually building real products. No one cares about that stuff. So here's an ESP32 development board, and here's basically my copy of it on my own little PCB. I use this in this larger system here. It's just my compute node, my compute module, I call it. So it's the same thing as a development board as far as the components, but how I use it is in a modular way. So it really doesn't matter what you call board in a module. Just remember, boards stand on their own, modules kind of work in a larger system. So for today's show and tell, I'm bringing a energy management and monitoring system. This thing has 8 individual modules, and each one of them monitors how much energy is flowing through just one of the wires in your house or business or whatever, like how much you're pulling from the grid or your solar is making or an air conditioner is using. But it's modules all the way down. Everything except for this big green board on the bottom is a module. So you have 8 modules to monitor how much energy you're using. You have a big power module here because everything needs power, and you have a communications module so that way all these things can communicate with something. We originally used this and this module here, and it was just a lot. So we went and upgraded and got to this compute module, and that was nice. But then we wanted to get rid of the communication module, so we used that. And then we wanted to kind of get more compute. So we got this. It's got 2 ESP32s. It slots into the communication module board. And now we got enough computing power to do the normal stuff and even off-grid AI. So I like my modules. And then we got even more efficient with the power. So now we get to use a smaller power board module. And then we wanted wireless energy monitoring. So we took one of these little energy monitoring doodle thingies and we put it in this and with some Zigbee, and now we got wireless energy monitoring. And then we wanted to go and monitor three-phase energy, so we got this thing here. And what that means is, see this? Three of those individual little modules just go right in here, and then that plugs into that big board. So the reason why you want modules is we just made one energy monitoring module, made a bajillion of them, threw them in a bunch of different products. We're able to upgrade our power supplies and reduce or eliminate components. And if we didn't do it with modules, we couldn't have done this. So if you look at this board, it's kind of like a mega module. And what I did was I basically took 10 individual sensor modules that I wanted to make and just put them on one big board. Why? Well, I think it was cost or stupidity or all the above. But the point is, it's a really good illustration of what a module actually looks like when you see them all next to each other. So if you noticed, every single module, it basically has a bunch of little holes next to it. Those are the pinouts, or that's basically how you actually talk to that module. We all probably know that, right? Everything needs ground because if you apply power and you don't apply ground, well, nothing happens. You need this whole transmission line theory, one to go out, one to come back. So you have power and ground on basically everything. And then you're going to have for the ambient light and the Hall effect, you're going to have just one output, like how much light am I seeing? And that might just be an analog voltage. So let's say you put in 3 volts and it's kind of bright, it might be 2 volts out. And if it's a little dim, it might be like 1 volt out. And so if we look around, you'll see some of the other ones have weird things like what's SCL and SDA? Well, that's for this communication protocol called I2C. It's digital. It's like UART or SPI. It's just, one of the big names for how to talk to sensors. And then if we look at some of the other common things, you'll see there's a lot of stuff that has a C before it or an R before it, like C17 or C22 or whatever, and R5 and R8. Stuff like that. And all those C things are capacitors, and all those R things are resistors. So if we look around, you'll see every module is just incredibly simple. It's one pretty dang cool sensor chip surrounded by a couple boring things, some capacitors, some resistors, and then the actual pinouts. That way you can actually go and talk to the thing. So if you look at this is what every module looks like. There's no hidden mystery behind it. You basically just go and power it, talk to it, and maybe have some options like this proximity sensor. There's this select options for C and A. And so everything it's not that hard. Go find your chip, make a module, don't overthink it. You're probably picking up that it takes kind of a village of knowledge for product development. Like, you got to know all sorts of things. I love modules, I love electronics, but the thing is, you got to know how to use your 3D printer. You got to know how to mold and cast. You got to do all the electronics, all the hardware, all the random bits and bobs. So, where are you going to learn them? Well, that's why I was so excited when the Product Development Expo reached out to me with a free ticket. It's happening in Phoenix, Arizona. Well, Mesa, Arizona, just outside Phoenix. It's happening October 21st and 22nd. And what I'm so excited about is they have all these hands on training sessions for real stuff that I'm actually going to use in my life. So, adhesives, like, sounds boring, but industrial adhesives. So many things are glued together, and I need to start doing it more. They have surface texture modeling, so that way I can go and make my stuff that much better when I 3D print it. I'm going to go and do all sorts of the robotics programming because, I love robots and motors and stuff like that. And the thing that I just can't wait is they have a session on linear motors. That's like a recent obsession of mine is linear motors. And they have a session on it. They have tons of sessions. So even if you don't plan on going to this, check it out. Check out the PDX websites. That way you can see there's really places like this available, things going on for $295, where you're going to get better education in 2 days for $295. So I can't wait to see you there. I'm just so excited, and I hope you have a good time and see you there. So when you look on Amazon, you're going to find that there's modules for everything. You can get module kits, you can get sensor kits, you can get starter kits, whatever you want to call them. There's just modules everywhere. So if you want to get temperature and humidity, there's tons of modules for that. If you want pressure, like air pressure, or if you want weight pressure, there's modules for that. They have just a freaking module for everything. Magnetics, it's called a Hall effect sensor. So you'll see all these modules, they kind of look the same. And the reason why is they make one good design, or someone does, and then it gets mass produced by the millions. Literally, like, one company could be making something for garden hose accessories, like outside lawn equipment type thing last week, and this week they're making your distance sensor modules that have been made for the past 15 years. So they just need another batch of a million made. So no more lawn equipment today. We're making modules. And that's why they all kind of look the same. That's why kind of them they all are junky. I mean, if you look at the quality of these, they're not very well assembled. They're not very well manufactured. They're just mass produced junk, kind of. So let's go check out where you can find the actual high tech, real cool stuff. So we're going to look at Texas Instruments. They're just my favorite large component company out there. I mean, there's about 10 or so real big ones here in the US. My other favorites are, well, STMicro, they're European, but You have onsemi, you have alpha omega, Vishay little fuse. But if we look through Texas Instruments, you can see they make everything from microcontrollers to sensors to switches to all sorts of integrated circuits. Like they make all the small stuff and most of the big stuff too. So that's why they're my favorite because they just make just about everything. They make it fairly decently well and for a fairly decent cost. If you want anything super specialized, like if we go to Alpha Omega, you'll see they just do MOSFETs and little switches, and they do them amazingly. They do other stuff, but same thing with like onsemi. If I want a really good diode, I'm going to go to onsemi. It's just kind of my preference. And if I want to get a microcontroller that can do just about anything, I'm going to go and check out STMicro because if you think the ESP32 has varieties, STMicro probably has 1,000 different varieties of their microchips. It's just big to small. Every single thing that you can want a microchip to do, they have a chip to do it. So let's go back to Texas Instruments and just browse through some of their main categories. You can see they have sensors, all different types of phenomena. You can see they have microcontrollers, they have different families for different things. In fact, we use some Texas Instruments chips for our energy management stuff, and it works great. So we're going to go and just find some good chips. We're going to browse and we're going to look through what they call parametric searches. So we're just going to go narrow down. So we want to go and find a temperature sensor, just a very simple thing. We're going to click on the temperature sensor category. We're going to go over to the view all their parts and we're going to go to these little filters on the left side and we're going to go and just set some things like we don't want it to be too expensive, max $2. We want the input voltage, how you're going to power it. We want it to be within this range. And we're just going to start searching. And you know what? Let's add a parameter for how precise we want it to be or accurate. We want it to be within about a 0.5% or 1%. That's really accurate for temperature sensors. And look, we got all these great ones. Let's go see what Bosch is up to. So Bosch makes like that BMP sensor. And so nice. They have the new BMP 380 out. Let's pull up that data sheet. Awesome. Let's pull up the data sheet for that TI chip. So you can see data sheets all kind of look the same. They have this general single page thing at the top that just gives you all the main information. As you scroll down, you'll eventually get to this description page about what the chip actually does, like how it works and stuff. And then you'll get down to all these minimum, maximum numbers. Like when you need to check to see, can I power this chip with the voltage I have available? This is where you check it out. When you want to see like how fast does my switch actually go from like off to on, you can check it out. When you want to see how much your LED makes light for how many volts you put in, this is where you see it, or milliamps technically. So here is all the complicated stuff that you get to kind of like read if you need to. There's going to probably be some really important information here for certain things, but a lot of stuff you just kind of keep on scrolling down and down and down, and eventually you get to this great typical application circuit, or it's just like the module that you're going to be making. So if you see it, it's got the chip we're looking at, and then we have where we have power coming in here, you have a couple capacitors, resistors, and that's basically it. To get this thing to work, you don't need much. You just need like 5 parts. And the reason why we don't do this on a breadboard is, well, this thing isn't really breadboardable. It doesn't have any of these like wires that stick out. It's meant to go flat on a surface. That's why it's called surface mount technology or SMT. And so we're gonna go and just make a little PCB with this. All we gotta do is go and just open up EasyEDA. We're gonna find this chip in the part library. We're just gonna go and drop it in, and then we're just gonna go and add those couple capacitors and resistors we need. We're gonna wire it up just like the diagram shows in the data sheet. And then look, we got ourselves a module. So if you thought that was easy, that's because it was. So we're gonna do another one real quick. We're gonna grab this other chip. We're going to go and add some capacitors, add some resistors. We're going to go and add a inductor for this. And look, we just made ourselves a DC-DC converter. It takes one voltage and boosts it up or down to another voltage. And then the output voltage we want for this power converter, it's actually set by this thing here. These little resistors called feedback resistors. So you can see it's really easy for you to make a module. You just got to go out and search and find the best parts. Like you can go to Mouser, it's my favorite distributor, and just type in like temperature sensor and click on the category, do a couple parametric filters and searches, just kind of narrow it down to what you want, or browse those other companies we are talking about earlier, and then just find something you want to use. Like, look, I have these LEDs here. I want to go and figure out which size of surface mount resistor I feel comfortable using. Well, more you, to be honest. I'm making this for you guys. So we're just going to go and add a bunch of LEDs. We're going to add a bunch of different resistor sizes and make this into a PCB and done. So that's how easy it is. So now you got to go out, you got to pick your chip, figure out what you want to do, and go and make it into a PCB. But if you want more information on how to actually make a PCB, well, that's what this next episode is going to be all about. We're going to go and do it basically start to finish, like where to download the program, how to do this. Like, you know how to find parts now, but like, how do you know which resistor to actually choose and which capacitor? So we're going to go through all that stuff and just make it real easy in the next episode. But for now, go out there, make something awesome. You got this.